Dragon also knows Marcus Eichenberry in real life, and I got a great question here from Pulsar Gaming. He says that it might be a weird question, but actually it's very relevant, and I'm not even sure that how much he realizes that. He said, what was the gaming community like during 9/11? 9/11, of course, you know, in the U.S., we all know what that is. Outside of the U.S., I think a lot of people do know about it. It's when the Twin Towers were attacked, and both fell. And, you know, the U.S. was under attack on our own soil. It was a very scary day. Very scary day. And, yeah, don't mind the love bugs. They're everywhere out here. You see them fly past. Anyway, so let me read his question, and then I got a lot to say on this. So this is the question I've always wondered about. Many of the older personalities on YouTube simply never bring up the subject because it is a touchy one. But being an avid gamer, who at the time only had consoles and no internet of sorts to play online, what were the communities like? Did they rally around a cause, or simply go about their business best they could? I'd also like to hear, you know, where I was when the towers fell. And so, anyway, I know it's a little late because, you know, 9/11's anniversary came around a few days ago and everything, but I saw this late and I thought this is a very good question. So, the Pulsar Gaming, thank you for this question. Okay, so first I'll tell you what the effects were on the gaming community, and then I'll tell you what I was doing when it happened. And so the effects on the gaming community were that that gaming stopped. It didn't stop completely, but I can tell you that our sales, the game company that I had at the time, our sales plummeted to about 30% of what they were normally. And here in the United States is where they plummeted the most. Most of the sales were coming from foreign locations. There's also something else that, what, you want in the camera too? Another bird over here, being awful noisy. And that dog, man, lovely Florida morning out here on the lake. So we had several days of slower sales, and really because America was just glued, and the whole world was just glued to what was going on. It was very disruptive. People were at conferences, people were, you know, all over the place and couldn't fly back. You know, we had, what was it, a 3-day flight embargo? If I remember correctly, it was 3 days where they grounded every single plane in the United States. There was no planes allowed except for warplanes that were allowed to fly. And any plane that was unidentified in the air got met with a big show of force and forced to the ground. So it was taken very serious by our government, which it should have been. I mean, hell, it was obvious, you know, that in the first plane crashing, you know, nobody really knew what was going on. And so, you know, we just didn't know. And anyway, it had, let me just say, it had a big effect on gaming. A lot of people did not game, and I think a lot of game companies could look at their stats from back then and see that the activity was a lot less on what was happening in game. If they were in game, they were chatting with their friends about it, talking with them about it. And the internet was much newer back then, because this was 2011. Let's see, no, 2000. Yeah, 2001. Yeah, I think so. So, anyway, I was working at Nike at the time, and I also had my store, my online sales and everything. And I remember that that for me, I was it was early in the morning. I was laying in bed listening to talk radio. So I heard all this screaming on the radio, and I decided that, you know, it just didn't sound right, and they were saying that a plane had crashed in New York City into a building. And so I decided, well, it was actually my day off from my day job. I still had my company and everything, but it wasn't quite to the same standard of sales that we're doing these days. And I turned on the TV. I turned on CNN to them showing, from quite a distance away, one of the towers being on fire. And they said that it looked like a large plane had crashed into it, but they didn't really know much about it. And so anyway, it was interesting. It was kind of scary seeing that and everything. And then they were talking about that they didn't know what was going on and everything. And then a second plane. They started yelling about a second plane inbound and everything, and we saw live on TV as that second plane hit. And you knew that something was very, very wrong. Very wrong. And you're kind of in disbelief, in shock. And you realize that this was not a mistake. And that's a moment that I'll never forget. You think back to like World War II and stuff, and the president saying that, that when Pearl Harbor was attacked, that this is a day that will live in infamy. And how important and earth-shattering that must have been to everyone's lives back in World War II when the United States was attacked by Japan. And so at that point, we, everybody knew that we were under attack. And all I could do was I sat in bed for hours watching all of that. We watched as the people jumped off of the building trying to escape the flames or trying to end their life right away because they knew that they were going to be burned up. The mayhem of all of it, and watching, as one tower fell, and knowing that, these were the largest towers in the United States, and how many people just died. And then the second tower fell, and it's just like, oh my God, I hope everybody got out of there. Even when the first one hit, the people in the second tower, how could they know that it wasn't more than just a plane lost control, and flew into the building? They are the highest buildings in the United States, and so, that might be what I would think. I wouldn't necessarily think, oh my God, I got to get out of the building. I just wouldn't, because it'd be like, oh my God, look at that horrible accident that just happened. Glad I wasn't over in that other tower. That severely affected a lot of people. We kept our oldest son, who was in school at the time, we kept him home that day, and because we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know if we were at war. If the next thing to be coming was going to be, nuclear missiles from Russia or from China, or what was going on. Nobody really knew. And many of you who are viewing this have been in war before, and have been, live in countries that have not had the stability that mainland United States has had, and know exactly what I'm talking about that uncertainty and that fear, and feeling of being paralyzed. Nobody got any creative work done that week, I can tell you that. That was the kind of thing that killed creativity, and nobody really got much stuff done at all. I know when I went back into work 2 days later, that the company was still stunned. I was doing IT. I was doing IT at Nike, and everybody was still stunned, and it was just very quiet at work. And it was like, I'm present, but not much was happening. So, you know, and you know, do I believe that like the United States should go to war over that? Yeah, we were attacked. We have to defend ourselves. Now, at the same token, you know, is there these love bugs are everywhere out here. He's crawling on the lens. You know, at the same token, do I feel like it's the United States, you know, position to be out there and be the protector of all, which I know our government has taken many times? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. You know, freedom has a really high cost, and we enjoy freedom in this country, and it's through our you know, strength that the United States has, and flexing that muscle and trying to keep others, you know, in line is part of how we defend our freedom. And you know, recently the attacks in Syria and everything, and is it our responsibility to stop Syria from, you know, killing their own people? You know, I feel like, you know, should we be sticking our neck into that stuff? I don't know. But when you think about anybody who needs help, and if they ask for help, and if the people there, you know, needed help, and, you know, couldn't officially ask for help or anything like that, but, you know, obviously they needed help, should we help them? You know, would you help a person that's across the street that fell down, and maybe they look capable of standing back up on their own and taking care of themselves, and maybe there's other people around that are closer that are seeing it, but at the same token, nobody steps up to the plate to at least try to help? I think you should. I really think you should. And do I like war? Hell no. Do I approve of war? No. But is war necessary sometimes? Absolutely. It is. And so I'm like right there in the middle. And these love bugs are everywhere. I'm right there in the middle. You know, is force necessary sometimes? Yeah. And you know, like in Syria right now, they're doing diplomatic route, threatening to, you know, take military action, and their leader is standing down, and it looks like he's cooperating. I don't follow the politics all that much, but you know, I do see some of it, and so, you know, with that said, you know, if Canada, Mexico, you know, anybody else was under attack like we were under attack, and they asked for assistance, hell yeah, we should help them out. And you know, and sometimes it's necessary to help out when people don't ask. Maybe people have too much pride sometimes. You know, politics is ugly. I don't talk much about politics on my channel, and because there's so many varied opinions, and I respect other people's opinions, and I let the process work it out, so that, you know, I believe that the people as a whole will, you know, will guide what happens, and that is, I believe in that freedom. See, that's a freedom that we have, which we defend. The freedom to be heard, to voice our opinions, and for our elected officials to not be elected again if they don't follow the wishes of the people. It's all about freedom. So, anyway, thanks for that trip down memory lane. It's something I haven't thought about for a while. Obviously, you know, when you say that there's a lot of raw emotion there, absolutely, very traumatic time. It's something that I will never ever forget, and something that I hope I never ever see again. So, thanks. I'm Marky Dragon. Take care.